But y'all don't understand, like, the things, just this life is beyond Cinderella story. I guess saying the Cinderella story is just like the nice way of putting it. So, anyways. Alright, now fast forward in the back to leaving there, going to Illinois, dealing with Queer and Tatiana. And then just doing Lyft for a little bit, not Lyft, DoorDash for a little bit. My grandmother's already passed, but my aunt, Janice, ended up taking over that house. And I knew in my spirit when I was in Jacksonville, I knew something was left to me. I just felt in my spirit my grandmother left me something. So I'm thinking like, hey, the house is big. It's just Janice and my grandfather in that house. And it's multiple rooms, And that's where we all grew up at, grandma's house, it's just the memories. So I go there and I share what I was going through because technically I was sleeping in my car. If I could get a hotel room, I would rather save my money. But other than that, I was car camping. And I shared what was going on. And she acted as if she was calling my father's older brother, Troy Glenn, who lives in Detroit. Who she claims is like on the owner of the house. But before my grandmother passed, the same cousin Adria shared with me that she found out that my father actually got that house. They had to use his credit to get that house. Basically. He helped to get that house. Her mom told her this. So, I was holding on to that information. So, I get there. And I shared everything. So, she acted like she was calling my uncle. But, again, like, she had the phone to her. But it just looked like a black screen, y'all. I didn't even argue with her. I wasn't going to say, oh, you didn't call. I don't got time to argue with nobody. So, she was like, yeah, Troy, Erica's here, and she said she needed a place to stay. And asked if she could stay here. And I told her that I would have to ask you first since you basically own a house. He said, do you got a job? And then I was just sharing that I do DoorDash, but technically, no. No, she don't have no job. Well, he said you can't stay here. I kid you not. I kid you not. That's what the conversation went like. And it was just like, I couldn't even say nothing. I was like, okay, can you at least give me his number? And I could call him. She's like, no, I'm not going to give you his number. So I just walked out, went back into the living room, and then it was just like, anytime I came over there, I never stayed long. The only time I really stayed long for hours, it was like when my grandmother was alive, And I was just like, okay. And then after that, like when I came back after she passed away, it was one Christmas. No, yeah, my grandmother was still alive at the time. That Christmas, that's the only reason it was my grandmother that kept, I stayed around for that. So I just stayed for a little bit, and I just went in the kitchen and I asked my grandfather, I was like, hey, can I warm something up? I literally felt like I was a guest in my own grandmother's house, a house that I spent so many years at, back and forth. I felt every time I came over there, I felt as if I had to ask for permission. Like, is it okay? I can use a microwave. Is it okay? I can sit in the backyard. Like, it's crazy, man. So, my grandfather was like, yeah, of course. So I'm warming my food up. I'm eating my food at the table. And my grandfather out of nowhere came in the kitchen and tried to start up an argument. Like when I think about my Aunt Janice, she's a lot like her daddy. Out of nowhere, he came to me and he was like, oh, I know what you're doing. Yeah, I know what you're doing, And then he was like, yeah, your mama ain't blink. And then I noticed they got surveillance cameras in the house, which is good, because I guess when my grandma was alive, they definitely wanted to keep an eye on my grandmother. And not only that, the neighborhood is not that good, so they definitely had to have some type of security. And I know they had the footage of this. So he's sitting there verbally attacking me, y'all. And I was like, I'm sorry you felt that way. I'm sorry you feel that way about my mom. I wasn't crying, but I was just taking it in. So after I ate, I just went out to the backyard. I just sat there. On the same day, when I came over there, I forgot to mention, during this time, when I was in Jacksonville, remember the car I told you the window didn't go down? I drove my car there. The car ended up breaking down completely, and I had to just get rid of it while I was in Jacksonville, Florida. So when I came back, it was on the flight. It was on the plane. So the car I was using to do DoorDash this time around was a rental. And due to the lack of funds, I had to return that rental. So I had to park it down the street. I told the person, hey, it's down the street. This is where it's parked. I took a picture of the street sign. They came and got the car. So now I have nothing other than a few things in storage. So I literally went to stay. That's when I went to the house and asked if I could stay there. Because, I mean, I literally had nothing. So I'm in the backyard, and I'm like, man, I don't know where to go. So it was a pastor that I was connected to that I met in Chicago, and I know his church is on the west side, and I told him what was going on, and he called one of his church members, a young lady. I never met her, and he was like, he said he reached out to her, told her what was going on, and she said, oh yeah, she could stay here for a few days. So this young lady, not knowing her, came all the way from the west side of Chicago, drove to the south suburbs to come pick me up. I stayed there, and you know, that was just for a few days. I was like, yeah, this ain't it. This can't be the last straw. So then eventually she had to take me back to the, the church and everything. I guess it was an opening at the shelter, which was good. Like, she took me back to the church, and I was able to call this number. I think it was a 211 number or whatever. And then I was sharing what was going on. And they said, oh, it's an opening at the shelter, blah, blah, blah. The van could come get you. So I ended up at a women's shelter on the west side of Chicago. I was there for a little bit. So I would say from... Okay, I left Jacksonville, did that. So July. So I turned that car in. I had to turn the car in August. Probably August of 2021. So from August 2021 all the way up to... No, I'll take that back, y'all. July. So I had it to the car since July 2021, that rental. And I had to turn it in July. So from the shelter, I was there from, I would say, July to August or September. Yeah, to September. And then September, I got reconnected to a young lady who I went to elementary school with. She knew my mom. We were connected. And then she came back to Chicago for her mom's funeral. And I actually preached. I actually did the sermon at her mom's funeral. And, hold on, y'all. Gotta make sure this is even on. Hold on. So I actually did her mom's... I'm getting used to these mics, y'all. I don't know if it's on. Can you hear me now? No, but seriously. I did the mom's funeral. And so I did the funeral in... I would say early August. And then she eventually went back to California, and then I reached out to her and I told her what was going on. I was like, when I came and did your, your mom's funeral and everything, at the time I didn't have nowhere to go. Now I'm at a shelter, blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, no, you could come here. You could come to California and everything. And her husband, were they married? No, her fiance or boyfriend. Basically, they were able to help me a little bit to get me a plane ticket from the west side of Chicago all the way to California. So that's how I ended up in California in 2021. July 2021 to be exact. Wait. Take that back. September. Yeah, July. July 2021. That's right. And I was there she gave me till like that September, October to be there. So I get there. They started up, it was okay. She allowed me to drop her off and then use her vehicle. I was able to find gigs like DoorDash, and then look for other things as well. But I knew that was in a permanent situation. So my mind was always like, okay, once I leave here, what's the next step? Like, do I want to stay in California? Do I want to so all these different things. I'm like, man. But again, she's also connected to, my older brother, my younger brother. So that's what I'm saying. They were always intertwined. And keep in mind, when I say elementary, we all grew up on the north side of Chicago. So it was always a connection. So it's like when I was there, it was like little things that was going on. There was times I would come in a room that she let me use. It was like, I guess her boyfriend would come in there and do something, like touch my stuff or something. She had to check on one time. So it was just some weird stuff going on. And I'm like, yeah. And so what I did is once I left there, I just went down the street. It was a church down the street that they actually help accommodate the homeless, right? I went there, and what they had it was tents outside for the homeless. Like, literally, they do the intake and everything. You can stay in the tent. I chose that. And some people are like, wait. I'm like, look, I chose that. I'm like, look, I had to leave there. So it's just so I went to that church, stayed in a tent, humbled, got to know the pastor and everything. But when I was there, I seen there was some corruption stuff going on. And then not only that, I can't stand to see someone that's considered a caseworker or works in that type of field with the homeless, and they're nasty and they treat people just indecent. So while I was at that church, I've seen and witnessed this woman talk to people like they were a crap. And I mean, they were gentle, just talking, yes ma'am, and like that. And she'd be like, and you gotta, and I'm just sitting there like, foul spirit, and I could tell she had a history of doing this. And someone confirmed it. I didn't have to say it. They was like, she's always like this. And then, let me rewind a little bit. The young lady, Nicole is her name. I forgot her last name because I think she's married now. But Nicole, she allowed me to stay, like the friend from elementary school. That's her name. So she allowed me to stay there with her and her husband. And I'm there, and she allowed me to use her car, right? So she's like, and I told her I help her with food because at the time I was able to get EBT. I was like, I don't mind helping you with food stamps. It is, that's the least I can do to try to contribute to the house, especially for your hospitality. But her thing is she wanted to invade my privacy. She literally she had the audacity to ask me for the card because I told her, I'm like, yeah, we could go to the grocery stores whenever you need to and get what you need and I'll pay for it. She actually had the audacity to ask me for my card and ask me for my PIN number. I'm like, what? Why in the hell would I give you my PIN number? And then not only that, we live in a world now, now I'm talking to regular y'all, people scam cards. Those of you who get EBT, y'all better do your research. And some of you probably experienced this where someone hacked into your EBT or somehow got the same, your numbers on your card and your PIN number and they were able to steal your money. So what the hell? Like, who in their right mind will ask somebody? That's like asking someone for their credit card and their PIN. Like, unless y'all married or something. But why would I give you my PIN? And then she had the audacity to say it's the same way as using her car. I'm like, no, it's not. Because at the end of the day, I'm returning your keys. I didn't make a copy of your key. How's it the same? So just trying to manipulate. And I knew, I'm like, let me get out of this house. So you see what I'm saying? Like people who, it was years since I seen her. We went to elementary school together. The last time I seen her was my freshman year in high school. Remember, my mom did all that moving around. So my freshman year in high school. So we're talking about, what, the 2002, 2003? 2003. Not 2004. So I graduated 2003. That's summer break. Blah, blah. Yeah, around that time. So I was like, that's years. Different person. And then she had a daughter at the time. So she's a whole mom and everything. But I'm like, just because I knew you back then don't mean, you see what I mean? So that was crazy. So I'm like, I did the tent thing. And then when I got there, this particular church, she was like, oh, if you're going to be here and you stay in the tents, we don't allow people to, I'm vegan. I don't eat everybody. I can't eat everything. So I'm like, I don't mind going to the grocery store, use my EBT to go to the grocery store to get my stuff and come back and eat. Oh, you can't do that. You can't leave the campus. And not only that, we need to hold your EBT card. We need to hold it. And then not only that, I think she said they would need my PIN number. I'm like, what y'all with this? I'm like, man, a scam alert. I'm like, yeah, I can't stay here. So because of that, oh, well, you can't be here. You see what I'm saying? Like manipulation, narcissist. Yes, this church was located in Fairview, California. Fairview, California, if I'm not mistaken. Or Fairfield. Yeah, Fairfield or Fairview, California. One of those two. So I was like, So while I was there, while I was actually staying with Nicole, I'm not gonna lie, I got onto the Facebook dating app. I'm being honest, y'all. I mean, I've been single for a while. I wasn't no hoe. I didn't do anything of that nature. And then when I was in Jacksonville, it was one guy who courted me. And I know he was connected. I come to find out he was connected to my younger brother. Because when I let that joker go, because he was a hoe, out of nowhere, because I never talked to my younger brother about my personal life. And out of nowhere, one day he was like, he just wanted you for sex. Out of nowhere. Never talked to my younger brother about my personal life. Never told him I was with somebody. And then it's like, before that conversation, before he said that, I felt in my spirit they were somehow connected. Especially with some of the conversations me and the guy would have. Like, just certain things he would ask. And he was just so adamant of getting over to my brother's house. And remember how earlier, in one of the parts I said, be safe of give me out your address? He never got the address to where my brother lived. Ever. And I'm like, not because I was just a private person, but that's my brother's house. Why would I give my brother's address out? And then, I thank God I did it because it's like when I left him alone, he's definitely the type to be trying to pop up and just ignore boundaries and be trying to claim he's fighting for his love. He's one of those type of guys. Does that make sense? Like popping up like, let's talk about this. Nobody got time for that. So he had no control. And I'm telling you, he was a form of a narcissist. See, I know how to deal with narcissists. I know how to dishandle and I know how to dishand a narcissist. Because one of the things about it, just like Janice, a narcissist. They gotta have control. And when they don't have that control, they're pissed. Like Dion. a narcissist, like Steven, a narcissist. So it's just like, gotta have that control, like, but now, so now you have nothing. You don't got my brother's address, and then the Dion making that comment, I'm like, okay, I knew they were connected. That just confirmed it. But anyway, speeding back up. So that was that, and me and that guy was only together from like August. He was a honeypot. Meaning, that's what I'm talking about. Like, when it comes out to a romantic side, like, he was sent there to get information, because I didn't talk to my little brother like that. I told you it started off cool, but then when I started seeing how him and Anna was vibing and just the demonic stuff, I stayed to myself when I was there, and that pissed him off. That's what I'm saying. He was always trying to get a reaction out of me, and he was like, you're too pure. So he couldn't get no information out of me, so let me send in a man. She's single. And I'm pretty sure, you know, who don't confide in a significant other, right? Come on now. And I wasn't boo-boo the fool, because even that guy didn't know everything. But anyways, fast forwarding into California. I got on the Facebook dating app. I'm like, look, I'm in California. I don't know nobody like that. And I already know I'm about to leave here. And I already see how she's operating. I'm like, I got to disconnect from this. Because it's like, it's just anybody that my so-called family members on either side of the family, if they're involved with it and these people are somehow connected to me, it's tainted. It never fails. Anytime they're connected to those individuals, it's always tainted. It's never a pure situation. So I knew, like, for a fact, once I left there, that was it. Like, so I ended up meeting this guy who he actually reached out to me. And he was like an apostle. Is that like a minister? His name was Tashawn. Tashawn Jahakanoff, like his middle name starts with a J, last name Nicholas. He stayed in Vallejo, California. I believe he still stays in Vallejo, California. Older man in the 40s, served in the army, but was currently doing IT. Kind of nerdy, like into like the Asian cartoons and into like the gaming and all that type of guy. So we ended up connecting and everything. We hung out one time, and he took me to what was that? What town was that? Holy Ghost, bring it back to me. That school, Berkeley. We drove to Berkeley one time just for like a day trip, you know, just hanging out and everything. It was nice. But that was this, I would say, was that the second time we connected? Or the first time? No, the first time we connected, we were just hanging out. And he was like, oh yeah, you should come over and see the chicken coop. Like his mom, because he was staying with his mom and dad. And their house in Vallejo, California, they had a chicken coop. I'm like, all right, you know, whatever. And then we connected and everything. And then it's just like, I was sharing with him what I experienced with an ex from Jacksonville, and then I was just like, it was cordial. It wasn't like, oh, you trying to be my man, I'm trying to be your woman. It wasn't that type of situation. Like, I was talking to him about a whole nother man, you know. But anyways, we became cool, and then his mom and dad eventually came home later that day, and I met her. We all sat in the backyard. It was me, his mom, and him. And she talked to me. Her name is Vera Nicholas. Vera V. Really, it's Maxine, but they call her Vera as well. She was a nurse in the army as well. And then his father is a doctor in the army, a retired doctor, but I think he's retired, but he's still a doctor, something like that. So I met her and everything, and I'm sharing with her what I do and all that at missionary. He shared with me how he was going through a separation, like a divorce. Like him and his first, the person he lost his virginity to, ended up marrying her, because before that, he said he didn't have no girlfriend. So basically, they got married, it didn't work out. She was being a hoe. I'm just being honest. She was on the streets, messing with people on their job. They worked at a casino. She was doing this and that. So if I'm not mistaken, this is 11. I'm about to go to 12, y'all. Hold on.